Hail to the Redskins. Hail victory. Braves on the warpath. Fight for old DC. Run up, pass a score, we want a lot more. Beat them, stop them, touchdown, let the points soar. Fight on, till you have won. Sons of Washington, rah, rah, rah. Hail to the Redskins, hail victory. Braves on the warpath, fight for old DC. What's up, y'all? Pigskin, welcome to Pigskin Facts, History, and News. Once again, I'm your host, Fred Watson Jr. We're back with another segment. And just like I told you, I have all the answers to the trivia questions that was on the last show. And I'm going to also go over the schedule, the Redskins regular season schedule, as well as the preseason schedule. So let's get into that. First, we'll go over the preseason schedule. August 8th, we will be going against the Cleveland Browns. First preseason game. The next week, it'll be the week after that, it'll be against the Cincinnati Bengals, August 15th. August 22nd, we'll be battling the Atlanta Falcons. And August 29th, we'll be going up against the Baltimore Ravens. The Beltway, Battle of the Beltway. Regular season, September 8th, we will be at Philly. That game will be at 1 p.m. September 15th, we'll be at home against the Dallas Cowboys. That'll be at 1 p.m. September 23rd, we have a Monday nighter against the Chicago Bears. That'll start at 8:15 p.m. September 29th, we travel to the New York Giants. Another 1 p.m. game. Week 5, we play against the New England Patriots. October 6th, we'll go against the defending world champions. That'll be at 1 p.m. and that'll be at FedEx Field. Week 6, we play at Miami, October 13th. Another 1 p.m. game. Week 7, we're at home against the San Francisco 49ers. Game starts at 1. Week 8, we travel to Minnesota. That'll be a Thursday night game. That'll start at 8:20. Week 9, we travel to Buffalo, November 3rd. That game starts at 1 p.m. Week 10, we have a bye week. Then we come off that bye week in week 11, November 17th. We go up against the New York Jets. That'll be a home game, 1 p.m. Following week will be another home game against the Detroit Lions, November 24th, 1 p.m. We travel to Carolina, December 1st, 1 p.m. December 8th, we travel to frigid, cold Green Bay, Lambeau Field, December 8th. That game will be at 1. Week 15, we'll be at home against Philly. That ought to be an interesting game. December 15th, 1 p.m. Week 16, December 22nd, we're at home game against the New York Giants. That game starts at 1. And the last game of the year, week 17, we travel to the Dallas Cowgirls. December 29th, the game will be 1 p.m. All right, so we're going to get into the trivia questions that I'm sure you guys are wanting to know what the answers were as I asked a few questions last time. So we're going to get into that segment. Be sure to subscribe to my channel. Leave your comments, thoughts, how you like the show, whatever you're feeling, or, if you feel like there's something that could be improved on it, hey, I welcome your opinions and your ideas. Okay, so here we go. First question. What was the all-time Redskins record, or what is the all-time Redskins record on Monday Night Football? Somebody? Anybody? Everybody? Scream? Nobody? Okay. All-time record on Washington Redskins Monday Night Football, the answer is 28 wins and 40 losses. We kind of hurting, yo. I don't know what it is about Monday nights. If you follow however long you've been a Redskins fan, if you go back and follow our track record on Monday night, it's not very good. We seem to play flat, or we struggle on Monday night. However, there was a game on Monday night, I believe it was 2016, if I'm not mistaken. And we played at Dallas, and our starting quarterback was injured. Our backup quarterback, Colt McCoy, came in and pulled off the victory. We beat Dallas in overtime. It was 20-17. So that's a good memory that I have as far as Monday Night Football, the most recent memory anyway. Okay, before we go any further, I just want to show y'all my new Redskins shirt. Hope you like it. I got a few more that I'll be wearing to represent. So, all right, here we go. Number 2, legendary former coach Joe Gibbs has the 4th highest winning percentage among all coaches. What is that percentage? The percentage is .625. And also, what is his regular season record as well as the playoff record in the playoffs? Record season record, Coach Gibbs has 145 wins and 87 losses. Pretty good, pretty impressive. In the playoffs, he's won 17 games as a coach and lost 6. Very impressive. All right. Number 3. What number of former Redskins have been inducted into the Ring of Honor? 42. 42 former players have been inducted into the Redskins Ring of Honor. And actually, I think if you go to the Redskin games, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, from what I remember, they have all the names of the inductees. If you look around, if you look kind of high up, they have all the names of the inductees. I believe they do. And you can see who was inducted as far as all the Redskin players. And we had some great ones, trust me. And a couple players that stand out to me is one is wide receiver Art Monk. For you new Redskin fans, I don't know if you remember him. Perhaps you do. But he was 1/3 of the posse, the receiving corps called the posse. And they were awesome, especially during those years when they won the Super Bowl. They were just virtually unstoppable. But Art Monk stands out. He was an awesome receiver. He was a tall guy. He was about 6'3", 200 pounds. And he could ball. I mean, he could go up and catch that ball. And he was phenomenal. Another player that stands out to me as far as the former greats Ring of Honor is Darryl Green. He played for over 20 years, and this man was regarded in his time, in his heyday, as the fastest man in the NFL. This man ran like a 4.2 in a 40. I mean, he was phenomenal. And from what I understand, even to this day, he still runs about a 4.3, I guess. I mean, he's like ageless. So I call him, he's like the ageless wonder. All right, moving on. Let's get into some Redskins history. And we're gonna kind of continue with the last segment we talked about George Preston Marshall. So we're gonna talk about him, and we're gonna go back in time. And at one time, the Redskins were an NFL powerhouse. Back in those days, back in the late 30s to the mid 40s, and they fell from grace as a franchise in the 16 seasons following their time of dominance. From 1946 to 1961 is where they began to struggle as a franchise. They had only 3 winning seasons during that span, winning only 39% of their games. They finished with a terrible record of 69 wins, 126 losses, and 8 ties in those 16 seasons. And there were only 3 coaches that had a winning season during that area. during that era. 1948, head coach Turk Edwards coached the Redskins to a 7-5 record. 1953, the late Curly Lambeau coached them to a 6-5-1 record in 1955. And 1953, excuse me. And in 1955, head coach Joe Kahirick led the beloved Skins to 8 wins and 4 losses, missing the playoffs that year. The 1961 season marked the 25th anniversary of the Redskins' move to the nation's capital and the inaugural season of DC Stadium. 1961 was a pivotal year of change for the franchise. The Redskins integrated its roster with black players, the last team in the NFL to do so. The Redskins traded up for Cleveland Browns running backs Bobby Mitchell, Leroy Jackson, and Pittsburgh Steelers guard John Nisbey. They also signed an 8th rounder, another running back, Ron Hatcher. They drafted a wide receiver who played 2 years in the Canadian Football League from Arizona, Joe Hernandez. George Preston Marshall once wrote to NFL Commissioner Pete Rozelle saying it was not his policy to discriminate against black players. He stated the sole aim of the club has been and is and will continue to field the team that will best represent Washington in the NFL. Those were his words. At the time, widespread segregation still existed in the region. Even running back Bobby Mitchell said the owner's position was grounded in business more than anything else. He said everything Mr. Marshall did was centered around marketing his team. They celebrated their silver anniversary in the nation's capital and began playing in a brand new state-of-the-art home field. Capacity, 50,000 seats in the newly occupied DC Stadium. The following year, in 1962, the franchise were the first to incorporate cheerleaders. And today, the Redskins cheerleaders are known as the First Ladies of Football. I bet you didn't know that. 1961 was the year that they added their cheerleaders to the franchise, and they were the very first team in the NFL to incorporate cheerleaders. And today, those ladies are still known as the First Ladies of Football. How about that? George Preston Marshall had a fear of alienating the Redskins' huge fan base in the South, where they were the most popular team throughout the decades, the 40s, the 50s, and the 60s. He had this Southern taste in his mouth. Why jeopardize it if you don't have to? Al DeMeo, a Redskins center from 1945 to 1953, agreed. Marshall didn't dislike black people. It's just that he was thinking of the dollar. He figured he could compete without the blacks, but guess what? He was wrong. It hurt our attendance. It hurt our ball club too. There's no question about it. The pressure to integrate caught up to Marshall in 1961. U.S. Interior Secretary Stuart Udall repeatedly warned him that he would forfeit his lease to play in the brand new DC Stadium, which was on federal property, unless he signed a black player. The government actually stepped in and said, "You want a stadium? Do the right thing." And guess what? Marshall did. He began to integrate black players. And that was a defining moment in Redskin history. So, moving on. We're going to go to our shining moment, our gem of the day. And our gem of the day takes us back to the 1970s, and the Redskins were very dominant in those days. They had a coach by the name of George Allen who came over from the Rams, and George Allen had an interesting philosophy. He believed in adding veteran players to his team, not so much in the draft, but his thing was acquiring veteran talented players that were veterans, but they still had some gas left in the tank. And the Redskins in those days were named the over-the-hill gang. They had a lot of players acquired from the Rams, the former team that he coached, and also other players around the league, that he tried to put the pieces to the puzzle together to put a championship team together. Okay, our shining moment, our gem of the day, takes us back to a Monday Night Football game, 1973, between the Washington Redskins and the Dallas Cowboys. But before we get into that, I want to highlight a special player that played in that game, and he definitely had a shining moment. That player, he was a DB, a popular DB, and whose name is one of the names in the Ring of Honor. His name was Ken Houston. He was a hard-hitting safety, and he left an awesome legacy with the Redskins franchise. He was drafted out of Prairie View. He was 6'3", 197 pounds. His NFL career spanned from 1967 to 1980. He was drafted by the Houston Oilers, and eventually he was traded to the Washington Redskins. I believe it was 1973. So he played 7 seasons, 1973 to 1980. Played 7 seasons with the Washington Redskins. He was inducted into the NFL Hall of Fame in 1986. And he was also on the NFL's 1970s All-Decade Team and NFL 75th Anniversary Team. He was born November 12th, 1944. Okay, let's get into some facts about Ken Houston. The Redskins were fresh off an appearance in the Super Bowl, Super Bowl VII. And with Houston anchoring the defensive backfield, they made the playoffs 3 more times in the 1970s. All the while, he had a distinguished career. A first ballot inductee, like I said, into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, 1986. And also, he was named in 1994 to the NFL's 75th Anniversary Team as one of the 3 greatest safeties to ever play the game, who was mentioned along with Larry Wilson and Ronnie Lott, the great Ronnie Lott, the hard-hitting Ronnie Lott. And I know many of you remember Ronnie Lott. Houston's numbers were awesome. In 14 seasons, 6 with the Oilers, in the last 8, I stand corrected, I said 7. Last 8 seasons with the Redskins, he was named to 2 All-Star teams in the Old American Football League, followed by 10 straight Pro Bowls. Wow, what an accomplishment. The perennial All-Pro intercepted 49 passes for 898 yards. He returned 9 for pick sixes, touchdowns, an all-time NFL record at the time that has since been broken. He's tied for first in most interceptions returned for touchdowns in one season. He ran back 4. And in one game, he ran back 2. Awesome. He also scored in a fumble recovery, a blocked field goal, a punt return. Houston is remembered also for his vicious hits. This man, if you go back and watch the old film, this man used to lay the wood on people. I'm telling you. His hits rattled a few running backs and wide receivers. Positioned mostly a strong safety, the 6'3", 200-pound DB hunted opponents down with his long, fluid strides and popped them with a flying forearm, often corralling players around the neck. In other words, they got yoked. The clothesline tackle has been since outlawed from the NFL. So a lot of rules have changed, and I'm telling you, back in them days, them boys laid the wood. They hit. I mean, they put it on you. Okay. Houston is a legend, and the game that I mentioned earlier was a Monday Night Football game. It was October 8th, 1973 at RFK Stadium, which I believe was sold out. And I just hope that the Redskins go back. I hope they go back and redo RFK Stadium. Before I go into the shining moment, Bruce Allen, president of the Redskins, made a brief announcement that there will be, a year from now, a mention of a Redskins move from FedEx Field. FedEx Field soon will no longer be their home, and right now they don't know if they want to move back to VA or or DC. So the lease is up of the stadium in 2026, but I think they want to make a move before March 2022. So probably sometime next year, an announcement will be made on the Redskins move. Okay, let's get back. The Houston tackle. There was a specific tackle in this game that saved the game. The Redskins won the game 14-7, and it was in dramatic fashion how they did it. And Ken Houston, he remembers the play like it was yesterday. It was more than 3 decades ago. A lot of us weren't even born. I was in diapers then, so I did exist at the time. With 24 seconds left in the Redskins-Cowboys Monday night duel, Dallas trailed 14-7 and faced a 4th and goal at the 4-yard line. When fullback Walt Garrison caught quarterback Craig Morton's pass at the 1-yard line, about everybody among the 54,314 fans at RFK Stadium and millions more watching on TV had to be thinking the Cowboys were going to pull this game within a point and kick the extra point and tie it. Didn't happen. But Houston appeared from his safety position, picked Garrison off of his feet, and as he tried squirming toward the end zone, bulldogged him to the ground, short of the goal line. Ironically, the powerful Garrison was an off-season rodeo cowboy who specialized in bulldogging steers. Well, guess what? He was the steer, and he got bulldogged. Doop! For a few seconds, RFK Stadium went silent, and then it erupted into a loud roar. And Ken Houston quoted that was one of the defining moments of his career, was that game-saving tackle at the 1-yard line, stopping Walt Garrison short of tying the game in the waning seconds, in the seconds that ticked away in that game, as the Redskins held on and won 14-7. Wow, what a moment in Redskins history. Okay, moving on. I have some new trivia questions. Pale Skins Nation. If you know the answer to these, feel free to put them in your comments. Once again, subscribe to the channel. And if you have any ideas of, what I can do to make the show better, feel free to give your comments. Starting out, humble beginnings, and we'll get better. Okay, what was the inaugural season for the Washington Redskins? Inaugural meaning the beginning or the starting point. What was the inaugural season for the Washington Redskins? I will have that answer on the next segment. If you have the answer, feel free to put it in the comments, or if you want to give it a shot, hey, by all means, go for it. Question number 2. Who was the very first opponent of the Washington Redskins, and what was the final score? And that, of course, correlates to their inaugural season, the same year. So, okay. Now, question number 3, final question. Was Sammy Baugh the first quarterback drafted by the Redskins? True or false? Feel free to put your comments in, and I will definitely give you the answer on our next segment. Okay, moving on, latest Redskin news. The Redskins signed offensive lineman Corey Robinson. He's come over from the Jacksonville Jaguars, and of course, Trent Williams is still holding out right now. We don't know if and when he's coming back to camp, or if he can get or negotiate a new contract, or and rejoin his team. So right now we don't know. It's still in limbo. So the Redskins have drafted another offensive lineman in place in case Trent doesn't come back. Still trying to work their magic. We did draft a couple of offensive linemen in the draft, which I'm very proud of, because we definitely need to bolster our offensive line. So they did that. Also, we signed running back Sean Wilson. He was cut by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He's a young cat. He went to Duke University, Duke Blue Devils, 23 of age, fresh face. So he's joining the running back rotation. and look forward to seeing him in preseason, how he does. We already have a pretty deep running back, a pool of running back players, I guess if I can say it that way, guys. And I'm looking forward to seeing how, it pans out in the preseason and who makes it and who doesn't. Speaking of running backs, Darius Geis, who we thought gave us a scare. He had a hamstring injury a while back, but to him, he said it was nothing. He posted videos of him working out, and Darius is fine. He's healthy, and he's been going full blast in training camp. So we have our second round pick back from last year out of LSU. Looking forward to seeing him get back on the gridiron and tearing it up, running over DBs and running through holes and scoring touchdowns and having a big year. That ought to be awesome. Have a 1-2 punch of him and AP. That'll be very interesting. Okay. Tight end Jordan Reed is healthy, finally. Once again, he's in training camp. So we have two very important key weapons that we were lacking last year on offense. We have our running back, Darius Geis, back, and we have tight end Jordan Reed, who's back. And we definitely need him. So it's good. Coach Jay Gruden recently made a comment on quarterback Dwayne Haskins. And he recently said that quarterback Dwayne Haskins has proven that he's ready to play in the NFL. And now it's just a matter of when. So it'll be an interesting quarterback battle between Case Keenum, Colt McCoy, and Dwayne Haskins. And I'm going to give my opinion as far as should we play him right away or should we wait? My honest opinion, I think we need to let him. Don't boo me. Don't get mad at me. I think we should let him sit a year. Kind of like how Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City did as he sat behind Alex Smith for a year. And you saw the kind of year that Pat Mahomes had last year. It was phenomenal. The man sat for a year, learned the game, went out, and destroyed the NFL. This man threw for over 50 touchdown passes, or about 50 touchdown passes. I mean, he lit it up. I mean, this guy was virtually unstoppable. I mean, just throwing all kind of impossible passes. I mean, he has the concept of the game. He took the game in for a year, and he took the NFL by storm. And this is, in my opinion, what I would like to see happen with our quarterback, our first-round quarterback, Dwayne Haskins. I'd like to see him sit. But if we have to put him in or, by injury, our quarterback gets hurt, like say if Case Keenum starts, he gets hurt, or Colt McCoy, so be it. But I would like to see Dwayne sit for a year, learn the game. He sat for 2 years at Ohio State, and you saw the kind of season he had last year at Ohio State. 50 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. He threw for almost, about 4,800, 4,900 yards. Big Ten Player of the Year because he sat for 2 years and learned the game. So imagine if he sits for a year and learns the NFL game and gets the concept, gets the timing, learns the plays, is comfortable in the pocket, which I believe he's doing a well job in training camp. He's doing awesome. So if you have any comments on that, give me your opinion on that also, whether you think our first round quarterback should start or if he should, sit and learn the game. I'd like to hear and read the comments. Okay, day 3 of training camp. It marked the first day that the Redskins got suited up in pads and the offense went heavy on the run. They did a lot of running plays. And as quarterbacks, Keenum, McCoy, and Haskins, they got plenty of reps. And it was said that Dwayne Haskins had his best day of camp. They said he was just throwing the ball effortlessly, going from left to right and following through with his progressions. And they said he was just slinging it like Sammy Ball. So it'll be interesting to see him play in preseason. I'm really looking forward to that first game against the Cleveland Browns. And once again, that game is on August 8th. You can catch that game on August 8th when they start their first preseason game. On the defense, DB Quentin Dunbar, he had a great day. He might have led everyone in catches, including the receivers. So He picked off 3 passes, and 2 of those passes were from Case Keenum. He picked them off back to back. And this guy, he started off as a wide receiver when he came into the league, became a DB, and he's developing nicely. He's becoming one of the better DBs in the game. Unfortunately, he got hurt last year, and he's back now. So look forward to seeing him play once again. All right, y'all. This marks the end of another segment of Pigskin Facts, History, and News. Once again, I'm your host, Fred. Y'all have a great day. Hail Nation. Hashtag HTTR. We're going to do it up this year. And I look forward to seeing you on the next segment. Peace.